Hey everyone, welcome back to the HNW podcast. We got myself, Fireball Hunter, here today. Guys, how you doing?
Hello.
Pretty good, yeah, not too bad.
We're doing all right.
Finally managed to oust Snaz as the regular guest, backup co-commentator on this podcast since Snaz isn't here. That's not true.
And this will
Snaz will be back.
probably be my one time on the podcast, so.
Hey, at least you made it in for one.
I did. I wanted to sneak in for one of them.
This podcast is definitely going to be... We're recording it right now on September 18th. It's probably not going to come out until... I don't know when. After Tournament 27 episode.
Merry Christmas.
This is going to be,
a
happy holiday.
Yeah. So
what this is going to be.
I should have worn my Santa hat for this one. All right. Well, let's get into it. So anyone who's, based on the timing of this release, everyone will know what happened in Tournament 27. So yesterday, Fireball, you did your run for Tournament 27, and how'd it go?
It did not go as planned. My first stage 1 fail since, oh my goodness, it's been, well, we were doing the math on it. What was it, six years?
It was Tournament 13.
9.5 years.
9.5 years?
No,
it's been 9.5 years.
All right.
Since I have hit the water. Is that what it is?
Well, it was Tournament 13, which would have been the beginning of 2015, so 8.5 maybe.
Oh, sorry, 2015. For some reason I thought it was 2014.
8.5 years. It's been 8.5 years since I've touched the water of a stage 1. So it was definitely, it was weird. It was weird. My first attempt did not go how I wanted it to. So getting to the back half of stage 1, I wasn't as confident as I would have liked. But it sucks. But at the same time, like I said, I feel like I can almost restart. Like I feel like I'm still gonna have my expectations set high for where I want to get. I'm still gonna be aiming for third stages, final stages. People are still gonna be rooting for me to get far into the stage. But I feel just that pressure almost is just been lifted a little bit, and I come into this next tournament feeling fresh, not having any pressure, and I think I'm gonna surprise some people. I think a lot of people think I'm gonna just fall off. I failed the stage 1, but I think I'll bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, I know, for me on Rog's course, I had the total victory in 8 and 13, and between then, I definitely had some stage 1 hiccups as well. So,
don't just completely fall off though.
Yeah, I don't expect to see any fall off from you, and I think that I do think that this should be seen as a kind of a freeing experience for you, just because now you don't have the pressure of, I got to maintain the streak. Now it's just like you're just loose, and you can just
jumping.
Be like, yeah, exactly. Hunter, so
it's been a while.
Hunter, when was the last time you actually got to watch a Fireball run? I'm curious.
I think, unless I'm forgetting one between then, Tournament 23, I think it was the stage 1 run. I don't think I was there for stage 2. I don't think I was there for stage 2, and I definitely wasn't there for stage 3 when he failed the Kern Clink. But I remember I was definitely there for stage 1 because I was the only person
I
on
think
the
23
spectators.
was, I did 2 and 3 solo, or 1 or 2 people. It was a very late run, I'm pretty sure, for 23. And you were there for 1 and 2 and 3 were just 1 or 2 spectators, if that, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, what went through your mind at that point, Hunter? Because, this is kind of interesting and something that we'll touch on, but obviously Hunter's got 2 big streaks on the course, and Fireball had a chance at the stage 2 one, missed it, and now the stage 1 one, it was still a ways away if you wanted to get to 20, but, the possibility definitely seemed there. So, Hunter, what was, in regards to that kind of a streak, what was your thought process when you saw Fireball fail?
Well, depending on, this is really breaking the fourth wall here, depending on what parts of the interview did and did not get into the episode that just came out.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, just basically absolute shock, because I feel like in my mind, if a stage 1 fail had happened, it wouldn't have happened until Fireball had got past 15 clears in a row. When with every clear, the pressure goes up and up and up. Yeah. I guess in a way, and for me, I would have thought, oh, when he gets past like 15 in a row, or maybe 16 in a row,
I would have hit like
then
some
it's
sort
gonna
of
get
marker or
really,
something.
then it's gonna get like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, oh my God, like maybe the finish line is in sight. Maybe I could start really thinking that I could do this. Um, I mean, I
It's funny.
look,
It's funny you say that because I've never really thought about like I thought about stage 3 streaks, stage 2 streaks, but at stage 1, the stage 1 streak was never really like ever in my head because I think it was so fact, right? When I came into my career, that it was just like that's not being touched, right? You just don't think about it. So then I didn't really realize that I was what getting up to 14. So it just wasn't really in the back of my head coming into the run.
yeah. So yeah, it just feel weird thinking that like. I mean, I suppose it was a landmark run either way. Like I know it would have you finished up on what 13 in a row. You were going for 14 in a row. The thing for me that I thought of that I don't think anyone else thought of at the time because they were just focused on the streak was I knew if you cleared, it would have been your 15th clear overall, uh, taking
Yeah,
into account the your debut clear,
with
which
12,
I think
yeah.
would have been a hell of a big deal. Um, but yeah, just pure shock. Like I say, I didn't expect it, and certainly not the way it went. You know, I always think I've that flying shoot for me. It's such a tough obstacle.
I mean, for
Um,
people that have been there for fireball runs that have seen me do 2 attempts, people have seen seen me do some sketchy stuff on some of my first runs on my failures. So I mean, I've some of the people that were there, like Snoz, I don't remember the entire crowd, Irish, Joey. I'm sure some of them have seen me fail first obstacles and first attempts before and
I was
kind
gonna
of
say that.
pull through on my second attempt. So I'm sure
Am I
like you
cr
guys were watching me on my second run and like it's fireball, like he's gonna be okay. So I mean, I personally felt like that. I was like, I mean, I'm not too nervous. I've done this before. I failed the first obstacle of stage 1 in a tournament. I think I don't know if that was the same tournament, but I got to the final. Like that pressure doesn't really get to me. So I'm sure I don't know if you guys felt like that. I could kind of hear it in Smokey's voice when he was talking to me before my second run. I felt like he was kind of
I
he's
don't
like,
know.
oh,
I
this
don't think
is
I've ever. I think with you, I'm way far past that now. At least
like, is it just like he's on his second run? It's fireball, like it's the
I,
same as
because
his
again,
first
like
run.
I think back to tournament 21 when you got first place at that tournament, but you started off with the first obstacle failure.
That's what I
Yeah,
was gonna say.
Um, I do think. I mean, I gotta say, like this stage one, I made it tougher than tournament 26, but as we saw, competitors did have more success on this stage compared to 26. There are more clears, and overall, it was weird to see how I think it kind of balanced out between the course becoming harder, but people just getting better at Halo Infinite jumping. But I think you failing stage one is the biggest testament to how the stage was genuinely made
it was
tougher,
tough. Yeah.
which I think just has to give credit. Even though you see a large number of clears on a stage, sometimes you see that and it almost takes away from the like. Say someone cleared who maybe doesn't clear a lot, and now you're saying, oh well, they cleared because like all these other people cleared, and it was just
Oh
a
no,
highly successful
everybody that
tournament.
cleared that tournament put in an extreme amount of practice. Like I put in a good chunk of practice for stage 1 and I still came up short. So I don't think credit should be taken away from anybody that did clear stage 1, no matter how many people cleared it.
Yeah. Um,
I think also from an episode standpoint, I don't know. Again, breaking the 4-4 there.
oh, we're gonna
I
break
don't
it a
know
lot.
how
We're
the
breaking
top.
it. We're the
I know. Okay,
Matrix.
so for example, I don't know all of like the top runners like who got like all the numbers in the 90s, blah blah blah, and all that rubbish. But I know some of them. So I know like with the episode having now just come out, Paddy he cleared, Joey he cleared, I obviously cleared, Killer he cleared. Um, Gotenks. I don't know how Gotenks did. So you could be from an episode standpoint, you could be seeing all these clears in a row, and you're thinking, "Oh, this is going great. This is, and then you get to Fireball, and then just
You're like,
no
well,
one would have seen that coming. Like again, I don't know
well,
how Gotenks did. Let's just say I'm going to
it's gonna
say
be
Gotenks
shocking.
cleared. So then you've got all those clears like in reasonably quick succession, or maybe actual
Oh,
in
they
succession.
this is. I love the
And so people will
conversation.
be thinking, oh, and now we got the fireball. This is going to be a
This is a
clear.
new territory for me, man. I'm not used to
That's why we're
this.
dedicating a whole
I'm
podcast just
always
to this.
I'm always that guy, and this one I'm not
Exactly.
that
And so
guy.
no one's going to see it coming, I think. Or no one would have seen it coming, sorry. Um,
I'm telling you, man.
I'm gonna go really
Two-time total
far
victory.
here.
Two-time total victory right after stage one
I'm
fail.
gonna go full transparency, breaking the fourth wall and all that. Right now, so the tournament deadline was yesterday. As of this recording, there have been 64 runs on the course.
Oh, this
Now,
is we're getting into
people might
it.
be thinking, oh, 64, it's the deadline. You have 100 competitors. I'll be honest, this is actually this is probably above average
Pretty good,
finishing
yeah.
number for me. I'd say I usually end up around like 55. So being at 64, yeah, I'm at 64 right now. 64, I'm very happy with that. And the other 36 those will happen in. It's not going to be that
Got a few
difficult.
more clears.
So we'll see. We'll see in terms of clears. There's a
Couple of
Fireball
people,
isn't.
maybe.
Fireball wasn't the actual 100th person to go, but he's going to be number 100 in the video, so you'll see him last. But yeah, I think both of you guys there's some stuff that you don't know about, and some things that I would love to get into, but I don't want to spoil it right now for you two specifically. Even though by the time this is released, you'll obviously already.
I think me and Hunter
know.
both know like a separate chunk of what's
Yeah, if you guys
coming.
combined your knowledge, you could probably figure out a lot of the tournament. But
95%.
I mean,
I
I think I'm good
keep it
up
this way.
to. I think I'm good up to stage 3, and I got no idea what's going on stage 3. Like, absolutely no idea who got there, how they did. But like stages 1 and people that failed stage 2, I think I'm pretty good on from the runs I was there to see. But yeah, I think I missed a lot of the good stuff on stage 3.
Didn't
Yeah,
watch a single run.
So Fireball, which one would you say which one hurt you more, the tournament 24 stage 2 failure or this stage 1 failure?
Wow, I would
That's a
say
hell of
stage
a
two
question.
failure. No, I genuinely the stage two failure. Like it hurt. Like it. I was there. Like I don't know
were.
why. Like I was prepared coming into the tournament. Like, if I beat stage one, I was prepared for stage two. I would have been prepared for stage three. I was ready. I could have beat the stage. Like I wasn't like unprepared. I don't know why. Just like that stage two failure, man. Like two jumps of setting another record, right? Like
Yeah.
that was a record set. Even if I beat stage one, I would have had 15 more to go before I freaking finally touch hunters. That would have been a record. I would have got to stage three, and who knows what could have happened on stage three, right? And it just stung. I don't know why. I felt more relief failing stage one. There was no relief whatsoever of coming up two jumps short of stage three. Like none at all.
Yeah.
I think I said it when we recorded, when we were doing the premiere chat. I'd had the creepiest, like the freakiest dream ever. It's just like, oh, Firewall's going to get to the wall lift. He's going to do the first 2 walls, and he's going to fail the last wall and come up 1 jump short of setting a new stage 2 clear record.
Yeah.
Like one of
Well,
these
I
weird
think it
dreams.
also.
And then it just happened like 1 wall earlier, basically. And then it happened, and I thought, oh my God, my dream came true. This is what
Oh,
this
you're
is a
horrible.
dream. Dreams don't happen. What's
I mean,
going
like
on? This
when I
is why
really
it's
think
called a
about it,
One
dream.
person to blame. Fireball.
when I really think about it, I think when I do my runs, I think of obstacles that I fail, right? Like so when I think of stage one, the crooked wall and the flying chute are really like the 2 obstacles that I really thought about I was gonna fail, which that didn't happen. And when I went into stage two, the wall lift is not at all something that I thought I was gonna fail. I don't know what happened on my second run.
Your
Was
second
it
run, you
the
failed the
planet?
solar swing.
The solar swing, and it was almost crazy. But like
You
the wall
almost
lift was
made
never
an
something on my mind
amazing
that I was gonna
save.
fail. Yeah, if I pulled that off, then I ended up clearing stage two. Like that would have been ridiculous. But no, definitely the stage two fail hurt. I would say 10 times more than the stage one fail, which is weird to say.
All I could say is a sort of an attempt to try and make it feel a little better is at least it didn't happen the tournament before. Like at least you can say like in the record books, you've obviously you've tied the record. You know, you didn't get the record outright, which is what you wanted, but you're still on that leaderboard of saying most stage 2 clears in a row, Hunter and Fireball. You know,
And
if
well,
you
it
got to 8 in
should
a
have just
row,
been Fireball,
it should
but
have just been Fireball, yeah. But imagine like if it had happened the tournament before when you were on 8 and you're about to
Now
tie the
that would have
record.
definitely stung. I don't think I was
Yeah.
really thinking about the record going in to the stage. I don't remember. I think I
Hmm.
was pretty focused on stage 3. Like that was like my mindset. But then the other, oh, what was I just about to say? The no, next tournament. If I fail stage 1 going into the next tournament, I think that will hurt 10 times more than failing stage 1 this tournament. I think back-to-back stage 1 fails like that will be
Well, we have a
like,
subject matter expert on that.
yeah, Hunter, you
Yeah.
wanna
Well, actually, I
put
can. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think. Funnily enough, Tournament 21 is a topic of conversation I don't think I've discussed much very often. In my when we're in parties and stuff like that. Certainly not on like my podcast or anything like that. Um, but I can always remember. I've talked in the past about like, oh my God, I went into that tournament thinking this is the first time ever in a Halo Ninja Warrior tournament where I'm looking to bounce back from a stage
and
one
then
fail.
you don't.
It's completely uncharted territory. I've
I'm
talked about that
scared.
before. But what I didn't
I
what
don't
I
like
haven't
this now.
mentioned before was that actually on the day I felt super good. Like I knew stage one had been an absolute bloodbath before obviously any of the episodes came out. But even then I felt super confident and
Am I just like
I
gonna
was like I
follow
was
in
like
Hunter's
I'm gonna be the
path?
sixth clear. I can beat this stage. I'm feeling really good on the crooked wall. Even though the crooked wall was apparently harder than it was in 20,
Oh yeah, for sure.
I felt so much more confident with it this time. And then the falling plank just bit me twice, and I was just absolutely fuming at myself more than
I can't
anything.
even imagine how upset I'd be if I did something like that.
Yeah, more so at myself than anything else. It was just I just could not have seen, could not have envisioned that happening. I just was so sure I was gonna, I wasn't gonna. I was so sure that if I was gonna fail stage one, it wouldn't have been the crooked wall, which obviously is what happened. But I was just way more sure that I was going to clear the stage, and then who knows what would have happened from there. Um, but yeah, but in a way, if that hadn't happened, then it wouldn't have made 22 better. Like 20, if I'd cleared in 21, it would have been great, and it would be like, Hunter's the comeback. You know, he had that stage one fail, and it was shocking, but he's right back to business straight away. If that had happened in 21,
That's what I was asking. Like from my point of view, if I come back next tournament and I'm like, all right, get back to stage 3, maybe a final stage, they're gonna be like, oh, he's back. Like he's back on top. But
yeah.
if
No
I
harm, no
fail
foul.
stage 1, if I fail stage 1, the downfall
Well,
for Fireball is in effect.
I think the other thing as well right now is that both of our careers are definitely in very different places when the stage one fails happened. Because even my fail broke a streak that had been going since day one of Smokey's course. I almost said Smokey's
Yeah.
existence. Smokey's course.
From the
Um,
birth of time.
I was born.
yeah,
Hunter was clearing stage one.
but by that point, in Halo Ninja Warrior, I'd already started to have the decline. You know, the final stage in MCC was great, and the first Halo 5 tournament was probably
Oh, I thought you
above.
just said like from tournament 1, you just started
No,
declining.
no.
Like what?
Um, yeah, like the second final stage in 16 and then 17, the first Halo 5 tournament was probably above expectations for how I thought I was going to do. And then 18 onwards pretty much is where I feel like I my standards dipped a little bit. And obviously you and and probably a couple of other competitors were starting to then jump ahead of me, and you guys were now like the first place finishers, or you guys were getting to the final stage or challenging and all that stuff, and I'd kind of dipped off. Whereas I think I mean, you've just come off of a fifth first place finish,
Yeah,
setting a
that
new record. Like I think both of our careers are in very different stages. I knew I was in a decline, and I had to find a way to get out of it. Um, I think this is just a dip in the. This is just
yeah, you make a good
a
point.
massive stumbling block, but I don't think it's a dip or a sudden
No,
like it's going
no
to start a sudden
disrespect to
decline.
you, Hunter, whatsoever. But you kind of put that into perspective for me. Like when I officially can say I'm taking a dip is when I am not being able to beat stage threes anymore. I would say that's when I'm at my point where I'm not comfortable on stage twos and I
How you
can't go
doing on
into a
this one
stage
right
three
now?
and I'm like 28.
Yeah, yeah.
I just looked at it, and is this official?
Not official, but
Like,
it's
is it? It's
like
different. I like
Is
it.
this your
I
first time
like it.
seeing this?
It is my first time seeing this stage
Ah,
three.
yes,
Um,
I got first
but
looks at it
like,
yesterday.
even though I failed stage one, right? Like behind the scenes, I'm practicing stage twos and stage three, obviously. Like I'm
Hmm.
100% confident. So like when I get to that point where I'm coming into a tournament and I'm like I'm beating stage one, I'm getting to stage two, and I'm like, well, this is the end of the line. Like that's probably where
I
I don't
think
feel like I'm gonna get to that point anytime soon, though.
I
Like I
think
feel like I'm gonna
Yeah,
continue to stay.
fellow
yeah.
all-star of yours that kind of fits the description too. I think he's more so at this stage than even Hunter. I think Gotenks is at a point now where he's got 3 final stages under his belt, but he's not someone who when he comes into tournaments right now, he's putting in a very little practice into stage 3. Like
Yeah,
possibly
he's
no
he's he's
practice
looking for
cuz
stage. He's clearing stage ones, and he's looking for stage two. And if he gets a clear, that's
yeah.
hallelujah. That is
Awesome.
an amen tournament. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. That like that's is that a negative
I,
thing
I
though?
think
Like is that a bad way to look at the course?
I think like for my perspective on you three, Fireball, you're someone who's you're gonna be competing for final stages every single tournament. Every tournament that you show up to right now, you've got a
A
chance
hundred
at beating
percent.
stage 3. I think Hunter, you're more at a point where you're gonna still put in work on stage 3, and I think you're more like I just want to get past the cliffhanger kind of stage, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then Gotenks is more just like I just want to get to stage 3. So
There's
and then
levels
Snoz
to
is
it.
just I
Yeah.
just want to get to stage 2. So you know everyone's got
That's different.
uh their own different goals. But
I
yeah,
agree with
Fireball,
that.
you're definitely like you're at a point where a stage 1 failure is not indicative of what your future potential still is. So
It's funny you say that. Does everybody hit that cycle? Like
I don't
anybody
know.
that's been competing for a long time, if you look at their career, does everybody run into that cycle of just like
I
consistency,
mean
stage threes, and then just
I think
stage one
it's
clears?
interesting because in your case, I used to chalk it up to like, oh well, you know, when you're young, you're still in school, you got more free time and all that, but you got a full time job now. You're working like you're living your own
Busy
life at this
man.
point. So I think that is obviously a huge factor when it comes to jumping because when you can start dedicating less time to jumping,
It's
your
hard, yeah.
performances will go back. And there are people who have more free time and they are spending a lot of it practicing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think those life stages are a big aspect
I agree.
of how successful
He'll
you can
take
be.
send those oysters, man.
Yeah, his oysters, man, drained the stage 3 juice out of him. Um, but no,
I think
I
at the
think
end of the day, every competitor, in you could probably just say in the history of Halo Ninja Warrior, it's different goals and different type. I mean, we kind of picked up on this on another podcast actually when me and Paddy were talking about what constitutes success. Um, every person in their mind has a different goal as to what they would perceive to be success. So, as we just said, for me, Fireball, Gotenks, and Snaz, it's very different things. For a new guy like MMO, he just wants to get as far as possible
yeah.
and sort of get in amongst the crowd as like, okay, I'm the new kid on the block. I'm going to be the next big thing. I'm going to be the next Fireball if I can. Um, for somebody like Joey, he's obviously a few steps ahead of that because he was the new kid on the block, like at the end of Halo 5, and now ironically, he's now the one with the best clear streak going
Yeah, he
on
is.
this course. Um,
It's crazy how
so
that
now
changes.
he's well, I mean, I said it to you yesterday after Fireball, after we'd finished in the game and done the interviews and all that stuff. I'd said to you, I think, Smokey, that now because of the shake-up that's happened in the last 3 tournaments on stage 1, Joey's now the only person that's cleared stage 1 in 25, 26, and 27,
Yeah.
which when you think 21 people cleared stage 1 in 24 is just unheard of.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Where's that group of 21
Um,
now? Let's go take a look. I'm just gonna go from bottom to top of that stage clear group.
how many of the 21 haven't cleared since
All
being a
right.
part of that
We got
record?
Sunnyside Splash was the first. He has cleared again. right? 25. Or no, wait. What
He
am I-
cleared in 25,
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
he? He had
24,
his
20,
first
yep.
stage 1 fail in 26, didn't he?
Yeah. Tricky Cyrus, who, yeah, still doing good. Flame, who,
Did clear in 25.
yeah.
I'm trying to
We
think
got
of people that haven't. So I know Swan,
Joey. Then we got
Snars.
Snaz, Sonic Fan, cleared again. I
Sonic
believe.
did in 25, yeah.
We have Rog, Volcanic, Mighty Max, Irish. I gotta say, Mighty Max's drop off after
Mighty Max hasn't. Yeah.
24 was kind of sad because he looked really good.
Mighty
Mighty
Max,
Max pulled
Swan.
Todd Gurley.
In fact, yeah,
Irish,
Mighty Max, Swan, Irish,
Snaz.
Snars, Z, actually. Z hasn't cleared since. And again, I don't know how they did in 27, but I suppose you could say Volcanic Crowd, Avows, maybe. I don't know how they did in
Yeah.
27. So that's 7 names out of the 21 that I just said that's not cleared since.
I was gonna ask something. Oh no, I was gonna mention this. It's kind of crazy. Now one thing I'm gonna look at is games. So, Hunter, you obviously never failed at stage 1 on Halo 4. Well, I'm gonna rephrase that. You cleared stage 1 in every single Halo 4 tournament and every single MCC tournament. Fireball, you cleared stage 1 in every single Halo 5 tournament. Which, when you look back on the history of the course, there's two major things to consider. There's the actual tournaments themselves, and then the actual amount of time. And I feel like a lot of times, I feel like more recently, the amount of time has been a topic of conversation more so than just the number of tournaments. Because if you look at the gap between tournament 1 and tournament 16, that's a little over 3 years, maybe, or just under 3 years. But
That's
then
crazy.
from 1 to 16, and then from 17,
Yeah.
which started at the beginning of 2016 to now, 10 tournaments later, it's been
Busy.
we're coming up on
It really-
what, 8 years of that? 8 years.
It really puts into perspective my stupid final stage comment when I said the gap between my final stages was like 2 years. And imagine if I got to a final stage now and it's been like 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a little different now, but so the question is, we don't know how long. I don't know what the future is with Halo right now. If Infinite is supposed to be like have the same lifespan of Halo 5 or maybe even longer, but I think it's going to be interesting to see if right now we've only got a handful of people who have cleared in the first 2 Infinite tournaments. So, like, which of those people are going to keep it going? But there's a few.
Well,
A few people who
I
cleared
mean,
There's a good
26.
handful.
I'm saying so far.
Yeah.
There's
The standout
there's a
name
good
right
chunk
now
of
is
people who have done it both.
the standout name right now is without doubt Joey.
Yep.
He was already quickly establishing himself as like maybe the number 2 in terms of like most in terms of because I would still say me and Fireball are obviously leading the way. Me and Fireball were the top 2 in that points thing for the regen era,
Yeah.
like in terms of success. But like in terms of like most likely to go all the way, like to get to final stage or win it, Fireball's still
Joey's
at the
hot
top.
right now.
But then Joey is probably the number 2, just with the way he's going right now. After that, I think it's an open field. I think there's so many jumpers, new and old, that could say they're next on the list.
Well, what I love
I'll be-
is if you go back to tournament 21, I remember going into that tournament saying there's only one person that I could imagine who has a chance of getting to the final stage now, and that's Fireball again. But now
Yeah.
I could give you a legitimate
could
name.
list-
I
you
could give
could
you a
list-
legitimate name of 10 different people who I think have the ability to beat stage 3 in tournament 28.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that.
That's
You could
crazy.
list 10 people that could beat the 3rd stage, but could all 10 of those people beat stage 1 and 2?
Yeah,
It's like they're almost better at the 3rd stage. It's
Yeah.
almost like me. Like I feel more comfortable almost on the 3rd stage than I do on the first 2. And I feel like it's the same for a lot of these other jumpers. They come into the 3rd stage and this is like, hey, it's my comfort zone. And they get dialed in, but it's hard to get to the 3rd stage. There's a lot of pressure to get there.
I feel like that's me, but with backwards logic, because I'm like, oh, I got to stage 3. I've got no expectations of beating this stage. Let's just see how far we get. It's totally backwards knowledge. Whereas I think with stage 1 and 2, I kind of expect myself to beat those 2 stages, and then that brings a bit more pressure. Um, but I'm going to
Yeah.
give a quick shout out to Killer, actually, since we're talking about people that have cleared in both Infinite tournaments, because I'm loving Killer's bounce back
I
right now.
know. 4 out of the
Um,
last 5. That's
yeah,
amazing.
and doing that off the back of 6 stage 1 fails in a row. Um, I mean, you could probably pick any course, and I seriously doubt there's anyone else out there that's failed a stage 1 on a course 6 times in a row, and then bounce back the way he has.
I think
Um,
I would agree for a competitor who was successful before the 6 failure streak. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
We do comeback player of the decade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Comeback jumper.
Comeback
Well,
jumper of the decade.
I want
I've
to
got a question actually.
go for it.
I was gonna say, can you remember a lot? I'm trying to think of like specifically. I'm thinking about your other stage 1 fail now, Firewall. Can you remember a lot at all, really, from when
Oh, from 13?
Fifth
from when
obstacle
that
both times.
happened? How it
Oh
was in
dear
13?
Lord. I just
Like,
remember
did you
Smods did
go
better
into
than
did you
me.
go into that tournament thinking like, oh, this stage 1's super tough. I think I'm gonna fail it.
So I
Uh,
re
I don't think Snoz
no,
did better than you.
me personally, I think this is something that I don't really ever talk about. Like Halo Ninja Warrior alone, like all jumping courses, I always set my standards for stage 3, stage 4s. Like that's just how I am. But with a Halo Ninja Warrior, getting to stage 3 in tournament 12, like I was like, well, I just beat the first 2 stages, right? And I'm still new to this jumping thing. Like, there's no excuse for me now from any tournament from here on out that I can't beat stage 1 and 2. I did it on my first appearance, right? Why can I not continue to do it from here on out, right? And if I'm
mm,
not doing that, I'm bad, right? Like, I just have high standards. If I beat it on my first appearance, I should be able to do it on any tournament from here on out. So going into 13, I felt pretty cocky, honestly. I was like, well, I just did it on my first try. I'm gonna come in to do. I think I didn't practice very much. I think I was just that cocky. Um, don't really recall how my run went. I just remember I think I thought I was gonna overshoot the brace on both attempts, so I cut it and just lost momentum on both.
mm.
Um, and then I remember being humbled after 13, and then ever since 13, I put my head down. 14 cleared stage 1, and then had a. I mean, I remember. I think I left after my 14 stage 2 run. I think I just left the party, fell into the water, left the party. Was so upset with Smokey. He did nothing. I was just upset with him.
Oh, you and
And
me
then
both were annoyed
from
with Smokey
14
after
on, man,
14
I was
then.
just like, all right, like Halo Ninja Warrior. I'm gonna put my freaking head down. And 15 to freaking what? 24 was
24,
just
yeah.
15 to 23,
straight
you were on
freaking
stage
Oh,
3. Yeah.
23, yeah, 15 to
to
23,
23
sorry, yeah.
was just success. A lot of hard work. But I felt like since I came into 12 with that stage 3, like I had to keep my standards were just set high from the start. Like I couldn't set them to stage 1s and 2s. I did that on my first appearance. Like I had to keep my standards to stage 3s, and it worked. Like it's a good mindset to have. I think Joey is somebody that has that mindset, and it's paying off, and I think it's going to continue to pay off.
I
Hmm.
think that
Off the
mindset
back
is
of an
just
almost opposite result for his debut run.
yeah, no kidding. You really gotta be careful with that mindset though, because I have seen
It's
this with so many
dangerous.
jumpers. I've
It's
seen it with so many
dangerous.
jumpers who they feel as if they're inadequate for the tournament that's coming up. Like they're not going to perform as well as they want to. And one of two things will happen. They'll decide, you know what, I'm just not going to compete because I don't think I'm going to do well. Or two, they'll get inside their own heads and
Don't do that.
mentally
Yeah.
just collapse under the pressure. So I think having a high standard is good, but also having the awareness to realize, like, hey, it's just a game. It's just like
Well, 100%.
in reality, like
Hmm.
this doesn't impact me in the long run, but it's just for fun. And if I do well, then great. But I still like. I think that's where I'm kind of at now when I do a course. Is if I fail stage 1, I'm like, okay, well, it happens. But I still
Keep
know
your
I go into
standards
every
by
tournament.
obstacles, man. Keep it
I
by obstacles. Don't keep it by like how well I do on if I beat a stage 1, beat a stage 2.
I will
Keep it
say
like,
this.
hey, I want to get to the jumping.
I have mentally put, and honestly, I might have shot myself in the foot with this. I've mentally put myself in a position where, and I've been like this since I was doing Hunter's Course, probably on, definitely at least on Halo 4, maybe on Reach. I can't remember though. But basically, if I fail a mongoose obstacle, I will have zero emotion attached to it. Like I won't feel bad at all because I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah. I
I'm
know
like
exactly
it's
what
it's
this.
not jumping. Like in my opinion,
Yeah.
it's not jumping. So I'm like I would never tell someone not to put a mongoose in their course. But if I fail a mongoose obstacle, I'm just gonna be like oh well. With that being said, my
Yeah.
I agree with that.
my favorite jumping moment of my entire career was in a mongoose in tournament 16 at Hunter's Course
Oh,
when
yeah, that dismount.
I don't know how I saved that on that stupid little mongoose, but one thing I want to switch topics a little bit here and get into just talking specifically about Halo Infinite because it is a new game. We've seen a lot of different jumping mechanics on different games, but now 2 tournaments of Halo Ninja Warrior on Halo Infinite. What are your guys' thoughts on the jumping mechanics and physics, and do you think that your perspective has kind of changed since the game first came out and I built that, like, my first tests of 26?
Well,
Um,
from
you,
what I can tell you, I think it was kind of dogged on from when Infinite started. I think a lot of people looked on it as kind of a bad thing. Um, the more it's progressed, I think we're all getting used to it, and I think you can do jumping is just it's different from Halo 5.
Yeah.
Like we're used to that. We're coming into this. I don't want to say it's floaty. You have a lot more control. Like you can do a lot more with your Spartan while you're in the air. And I think that makes it more challenging with what people are making on their course. With obstacles, with the way that you can do things. Um, I think it's just like I don't think it's more difficult. I don't think it's more easy. I think it's just different, and I think people are slowly getting used to it, and I think people are going to slowly start to dominate a lot of different courses.
so yeah, I think
Yeah,
the
go
big
ahead,
thing
Hunter.
from I think the big thing for me, yeah, is adaptability. As Fireball just said, I think Fireball is actually right when I look back on it now. Halo Infinite was definitely getting a bad rep in those first like
Oh,
couple
we
of
were
months
dogging it.
after Forge came out. Um, with I think a lot of people just felt like Halo 5 when you like were jumping or like you were sprint jumping through an obstacle or through obstacles, whatever. It all just felt nice and smooth, and you knew what you were doing. Whereas with Halo Infinite, it felt, I think floaty is actually probably a good word for it. But it felt like there was a slightly less control, if that makes sense. Which, to a degree, is still true because of the whole
I think we've
slide
learned how
mechanic.
The
to
sliding
The whole
control
is,
it almost in a way.
the
yeah.
slide mechanic, if there was an option to turn the slide mechanic off, I think there'd be way less problems for some people than what people think there are. But at the end of the day, I can only look at it from my own perspective, and probably it's the best course to look at it on is on this one. I've just been slowly adapting to Halo Infinite more and more by just doing more and more practicing on the obstacles. Um, so a lot of my focus in 26 was just on stage one because I figured if I'm struggling with stage one, there's absolutely no point in practicing stage two or three if I can't get there. Um,
That is true, yeah.
and then as I was getting better for 27, this tournament, um, more of my focus then went into practicing stage two and then a little bit more into stage three. Probably not enough into stage three, but more practice went into stage two. And then obviously I cleared stage one, got to stage two. Uh, can't speak about that yet. Um,
Oh,
but but
oh.
you know, definitely went into that stage two far more confident than if I'd got to stage two in 26, where I think I can safely say I would have absolutely taken a dive on the salmon ladder if I'd got to stage two in 26. Um, and then it's just the same thing again. Like after I finished my tournament 27 runs, um, I started practicing stage three, a lot, like just stage 3, because I needed to get more familiar with those obstacles. And at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's just everybody has to adapt to the game in their own way,
Yeah.
and get used to it.
Well, I want to say, and this is probably we're getting close to the end of this thing here, but I want to touch on my perspective on that too. So specifically with the progression throughout the games we've seen, I'm just gonna narrow it down to Halo 4, Halo 5, and Infinite. Halo 4 jumping was the hardest of the three by far because your momentum could just change on a dime. You really had to build your momentum to like make a long jump. You know, you had a lot less control midair. So
Felt like you were
save
carrying
jumping,
it felt like you were literally jumping in a suit of armor at
yeah,
times in
it
in
did.
Halo 4.
So Halo 5, I remember when Halo 5 came out, I was blown away because a good example is like my either my spider flip or crazy cliffhanger, that type of transition where you would have to jump up to build momentum and then you jump across, up and across, on
Yeah.
those transitions.
Yeah.
Halo 5, I load into a map and I make a ledge as thin as possible and I do the jump up and I jump across. And then I just run and jump straight without jumping up. And oh, I can just make
It'd
it.
be the
You
same
can just
thing.
build your momentum. Like you get all the speed you need out of nowhere. And it was just completely different to Halo 4. So now going into Halo Infinite, I think Halo 5 now feels like it was actually harder to jump. And now you're so much more floaty, so you have way more ability to correct yourself on a save jump, which could also lead you to overcorrecting. So and you could argue it makes it harder that way, but I don't. I would say overall it's easier. So because of that, we have to make jumps harder. You have to make stuff harder, and you're also limited on what you can do. There's no like rolling objects don't work very well. There's moving objects, swings, and things that like some crazy creative ideas that people came up with on Halo 5 that just aren't possible on Halo Infinite. Because there's no welding and you're limited on what objects you can make normal because they have to be dynamic and you can only use so many dynamic objects. So I think Halo Infinite to me, like when I look at it, it is still very limiting in terms of what we can do for jumping, and it makes me wonder, like I want to know in the realm of jumping how much there is outside of our Halo jumping community with all these different courses, because I know there's a ton of people who are still making parkour maps and platforming maps that are not part of our community, but it's still a big thing in Halo. And now you got things
Yeah.
like with the sliding and all that, which there's a lot of cool stuff you can do now. I still feel like there's not as much as you could do in Halo 5, but or
Spring
maybe
jumps.
it's just different. Yeah, spring jumps are gone now, and it really makes me wonder. I just want to know how much 343 ever accounts for this portion of the game
Part of the
specifically.
game. Oh,
Because I don't imagine it's a lot, and obviously
Not at all.
it's not something that, like their focus is, it's an FPS, shooting people and all that type of stuff. But I do wonder, like, what would it take for things like jumping and Halo basketball and all that to have more attention given to them, And I don't know what that would take. And because I want Halo Infinite to have everything that Halo 5 had. I just want to really grow from Halo 5 instead of almost resetting, because that's what Halo Infinite has felt like for me so far. I think with what we have, we've made it work so far. I think we've proven that Halo Infinite is very much capable of being the future of Halo jumping for all these courses. But I just wish there was a little bit more.
I agree. I wish it was too.
Yeah, I think what you touched on actually is probably the more important thing to take into account, because it's not necessarily like, oh, Halo jumping on Infinite is worse than it is on Halo 5, or because of this reason, blah blah blah. It's just the fact that the game is still not necessarily where we would like it to be, rather than Halo jumping or jumping on Infinite not being where we want it to be. Like I say, like you just said, like moving obstacles was just revolutionary when we were really starting to push the boundaries in Halo 5.
Yeah.
And
That was normal.
it's sort of getting, yeah, and then it just became the norm. Yeah, on Halo 5 it then just became the norm to have moving obstacles. now I mean, it's
I
getting a
mean, I
little
feel like
bit
now we're
better.
gonna get into things like
Some courses.
grapples and things like
That's true.
repulsors, things
That
like
that stuff is cool.
things that we didn't really think about that we were gonna have. Now we're gonna start to slowly incorporate those into
I
to
do
new
like the
obstacle
grapple,
ideas.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
imagine if we could couple the new elements of Halo Infinite with the stuff we already had in Halo
Well,
5 and how
So
how
some
crazy
people,
we could go with
I
it from
mean,
there.
some people are trying, obviously. They're trying to slowly implement these moving obstacles. I know,
I
well,
think
I
they
mean,
will.
you were just on tournament 28,
It
which
could,
has
yeah, because
Smokey's
I've
first,
wake me
I'm
when you
still
need
in here
me.
jumping around.
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
join after
which
this is over.
which has, I want to say, Smokey's first moving obstacle on any of the stages
Yeah.
so
Looking
far in
at it.
Infinite. Other courses I think are now trying to slowly implement. It's just it's just a
Irish
building
has
game. I
one.
guess at the end of the day, like we're filming this and Forge has not even been out for a year yet, has it? Yeah. Is that
Uh,
right? No, it's not even been out for
yeah,
when
no,
did
it
it come out?
hasn't.
Like end of last year?
It came out right as I was leaving Japan. Yeah.
Hmm. So we're still technically in early days. There's a lot of potential updates, I guess, that could come to the game and we can only
They've been
hope.
pretty frequently adding and updating the game, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure,
Yeah.
since.
I'll
I
say
think
this
it's just
though.
like Smokey's. I was gonna say I think it's just like Smokey said. It's maybe these updates have been more focused on the matchmaking elements
Yeah.
rather than the custom game
Which is
elements.
their big
And
drive. It makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying that they should
yeah,
prioritize customs over matchmaking. That will never be the case, and I would never expect it to be the case. But I do sometimes just wish, and like theater mode especially, like guys,
oh,
how do you not allow people in theater mode to raise or lower the camera? Like, how's that even possible? How do you overlook that or just ignore that? There's other things that they added. The way you can skip through the timeline based on someone's deaths. That's actually really convenient for me to try to find the spot in the video for the run.
that
But
really
the thing,
shows how little I've been using theater. I didn't know that was a thing.
yeah, but the thing that kills me is just that you can't raise or lower the camera. That blows my mind that that's not part of it. So it just makes me wonder, like, what kind of feedback they get. Well, like, what kind of feedback does 343 get on things like theater mode and different custom game aspects, and how much of it are they looking into and applying, or how much of it are they just like, okay, that's a problem for another time, or maybe they just don't even know. I'm not sure, but long story short,
I
oh,
I was
go
gonna say
ahead.
I'm thinking that you've got me thinking about every 343 game, and I think with the exception of Halo 4, and I don't even think Halo 4 was perfect. I don't think 343 has ever been good with theater. Now that I think about it,
I think they've just gotten worse.
MCCs is absolutely like really like I think it's worse than Halo 5. When I watch race videos, MCCs isn't great. Halo 5, I don't know why. So many people got like glitchy, like had issues with like glitchy theater clips. Like you lost runs, didn't you? Because the theater clips were either like messed up
Well,
or they just
your armor would change. Like if you join a game late,
yeah,
your
armor
armor
Oh,
would
would
be
that was
change.
different.
irritating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were a recruit.
I got that sometimes, but not nearly as much as other course hosts did with Halo 5 theater. And now obviously Halo Infinite's theater is just
Yeah,
yeah.
it's got some problems,
Um
that's for sure. I'm so glad Mission mode is a thing though, because if it wasn't, we'd be
yes.
having a
Oh,
lot of
we'd be
struggles.
oh yeah.
But
You can
anyways,
really tell
that's
the difference.
we're closing in on almost 50 minutes for this podcast. So, any final thoughts before we go?
Fireball, what you gonna do? Fireball, what you gonna do next tournament? What's the target?
What do people think I'm gonna do? People think I'm gonna fill stage 1 again. The
What are you
target
gonna do?
is the top of the goddamn tower. That's what's gonna be
Yeah.
happening.
I like it.
Um, yeah, I'm setting my standards high, man. Stage 4, that's the goal.
Well, thanks for joining, guys. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into tournament 28. You guys have both run 27 now, and again, despite everything I say about Halo Infinite, I do still think that the potential is great, and I'm liking where it's going right now. So, yeah, I'm really excited to get into tournament 28 eventually, and beyond. You know, closing in on 30. 30 is gonna feel nice. You know, 2,000 run number 2,000. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for
And
joining
enjoying
on
the
this
rest
podcast.
of tournament 27 coming out.
Yeah, the finale coming out sometime after this podcast, probably. I don't even know that we're so this thing.
Merry
I don't even know what
Christmas.
I don't even know
Merry
what number
Christmas.
podcast is going to be. This could be podcast like in actuality, it's what
Happy New Year.
number 7. but it's really going to be
Holy.
like number 13 or 14 probably.
I spent an hour in this stage 3, and this is the first time I'm getting to the cliffhanger.
Dang. All right.
Oof.
On that note,
Maybe there is work to do.
On that note, Fireball Hunter, thanks for joining, and thank you for watching. If you ever want to compete in a future tournament, just message me, Smokey Massacre, on Xbox Live or Discord. Fireball Hunter, talk to you guys later.
Oh no.
Cool.